Welcome to the Podunk Polymath, a podcast dedicated to the sentiments of a secular, sarcastic Southern SJW and skeptic. I'm Keith Rainier, the host of the Bad Medicine Podcast, a place where we find chainsaws and logic to be equally effective interventions for combating pseudoscience and stupidity generally speaking. Moreover, I'm a dedicated listener of this show. Come on in, and thank y'all in advance.
This is episode 44 of the Podunk Polymath Podcast, a.k.a. the Triple Po. Thanks again for joining me. This week's intro was read by Keith Rainier. I hope I pronounced his name right, from the Bad Medicine Podcast. I will put links up to his show in the show notes, so you can go listen to it. It's a pretty cool podcast. Go check it out. First of all, I wanted to say that I was going to be on Happiest Humor this week, technically. Wednesday, it's kind of a home and home. She'll be on my show and I'll be on her show. Her show will be out next Monday. Let me try that again. My show will be out next Monday. Her show will be out this Wednesday. So definitely go check us out. We're talking about some lawyer and some law stuff, some ACLU voter suppression stuff. So definitely go check that out. I will have to talk a little bit about the Roomster, the Dave Rubin guy, the fucker who gets people on his show and doesn't really push back against shitty ideas and, frankly, very hateful and dangerous ideas towards marginalized groups. There was an article that was written by Mother Jones reporter, and he was basically complaining that he called him a member of the alt-right in this article, which he didn't really. He was more than fair, this author was, and it was just so ironic that this kind of guy is one that calls, liberals types, SJW types, snowflakes, and he's the one acting like a fucking snowflake. He even talked about suing the guy for saying that. So if you've ever seen Who's on Rubin's show and you see the kind of shit he says and the kind of agreements he makes with these people, no, he doesn't get it right. That article wasn't hard enough as far as I'm concerned. He's contributing to this kind of shit by having these people on there. So I don't really have any problem with him getting shit on, to be honest with you, but he really wasn't. It was really kind of very mild criticism, to say the least. So, hey, Rubin, go fuck yourself. He makes $30,000 an episode. Or is it a month? $30,000 a month for doing that shit show. So, and a lot of people who I like and admire can't even get a quarter of that on their Patreon. So it's pretty ridiculous. It's pretty saddening, and it's pretty depressing statement about this human condition and how sucky people are in general. Of course, this week on the P.O.W.E.R, I have Melissa Smith-Taylor from Powerhouse. She is the proprietor, with Mia Raven, her friend, who was supposed to be on here but wasn't, had other plans, of the Powerhouse, which helps people. It's right across the street from the abortion clinic in Montgomery, Alabama. They help young ladies who are trying to get abortions, women trying to get abortions, to help them out, and they let them stay there because of this stupid 24-hour, a 72-hour rule, or whatever it is, waiting period before you can get an abortion or whatever crap it is. They can stay there. They help women out. They escort them to the clinic because there's a lot of crazy people doing fucked up things, taking pictures, yelling at them, all kinds of good shit. So we talk about that, and I wanted to say I admire her and everybody like that put themselves on the line to help out women like that. So I think you'll really like the interview. It's kind of hard to listen to because it's just so fucked up the shit some of these people do, but I think it's very informative and something we really need to pay attention to and something we need to contribute to if we can, our money, our time, or both. So on to the P.O.W.E.R.
Hi, I'm Trav Mamone.
And I'm Morgan Stringer.
Do you like drunken rants, major shade throwing, and semi-funny skits?
Do you often find yourself reading the news and thinking, are you shitting me?
Then check out the Bi-Skeptical Podcast.
Every 2 weeks, we discuss politics, religion, and current events from a skeptical point of view.
You can find us on iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher.
Check us out, because in the end, we're all a little bi-curious.
Has In God We Trust invaded your town? Are you tired of government officials who want to plaster In God We Trust on taxpayer-owned property? Are you afraid because your local sheriff placed an In God We Trust decal on the patrol cars. We are here to help. The original motto project is for those who feel the separation of church and state is an important issue and should be honored regardless of your belief or lack thereof. Theists, non-theists, and all free thinkers are welcome. We need your support to show politicians that diversity exists within our nation, and their promotion of a monotheistic religion and push for theocracy will not be tolerated. Stand up and be heard. Join us at originalmotto.us.
Welcome to another edition of the P.O.W.E.R here on the Podunk Polymath podcast. This week I have someone who is she's on my friends list. She's a co-founder of the Powerhouse, and that's P.O.W.E.R. We'll get to what that means in a minute. It's a nonprofit dedicated to support women's rights and LGBTQ equality. I present to you Melissa Smith-Taylor. How's it going, Melissa?
Hello, good. How are you?
Great. I wanted to have you on. I hadn't mentioned this previously, but this is going to be kind of a two-part thing. I talked to someone else about getting an abortion and what that was like. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to talk to somebody who actually had experience like running a clinic and knew about all that, that entails and all that kind of stuff. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you do?
Well, as far as the reproductive rights goes, with the Powerhouse, we organize volunteers who every day, but especially on clinic days, procedure days, we're there to help shield the patients from the protesters. And what that means is we usually have at least 3 protesters in front of the clinic on procedure day. And when women come in, they try to stop their cars so they can hand them literature, show them photoshopped images, just really harass them, scream at them. Yeah, it is terrifying, though, for women. They come in. Anytime you have a medical procedure, it's going to be scary, especially if it's a complete unknown, whether you're going to get a dental procedure or something more substantial. It's going to be scary. So you're already a little scared coming into the doctor's office. And as soon as you get there, you've got people rushing in the car, screaming at you, saying the worst things imaginable. And then they're also really bad about trying to take pictures of the patients as another intimidation tactic. And if they see a woman that they can tell is upset, she's visibly upset or sick, they'll make a point to try to get pictures of her so that they can post them online and try to manipulate the images to their cause. So what we as volunteers do is we meet them there at their car with umbrellas so we can try to block them from the cameras, and we walk up with them and try to talk to them and get their mind off of the screaming and the hollering that's going on. We also will try to play music for them, too, to help kind of drown it out.
That's kind of sad that you have to go through all that in order to perform a legal fucking procedure,
It really is. No one should be subjected to that. No one should be subjected to that kind of treatment. And I've been doing this for 3 years now, and we never, ever ask a woman why she's there, but sometimes she'll feel like she needs to say, or she'll feel compelled to tell a little bit about her story. And, every woman has a different reason for being there, and it's hers and hers alone. It's not my business. It's not the protesters' business. And nobody just wakes up in the morning and think, I haven't had an abortion in my life. I think I'll go to see what that's all about. Let me go try that out. It's something that they really have to put a lot of thought into, and it's not an easy decision. And then to be faced with that when they come to the clinic, it's got to be terrifying.
Okay, so you said you basically were volunteers to help the women, escort them to the clinic. Do you have an affiliation with the clinic at all, or is it just kind of an informal thing?
Oh, no, we are directly affiliated with the clinic next door. And I don't know, when you were here in Montgomery, I don't know if you came by the clinic and by the Powerhouse, but the Powerhouse is right next to the clinic. Their parking lot is right there at the side of our building. So we use the Powerhouse as a base of operation, but we are directly affiliated with the clinic next door, and we worked very closely with June, the clinic owner, I should say. June Ayers, the clinic owner.
Was she the one that was on that documentary?
Yes, and she is wonderful. She's every bit as sweet and wonderful as she came across in the documentary.
Yeah, I guess we should say what the name of the documentary was.
Yeah. Trapped.
Trapped. Yeah.
And it was about the TRAP laws that affected reproductive rights, especially here in the South. And what TRAP stands for is Targeted Regulation of Abortion Providers. And for example, we have a closet in the clinic, the Montgomery Clinic, that is, I don't know the exact dimensions on it, but it's tiny. And we were trying to think about security precautions and that sort of thing if we had something happen here like happened in Colorado last year, and we'll go back to that in a minute. But, if we had an active shooter situation or something where we could safely get people secured. So we have a closet in the Montgomery Clinic that was part of the TRAP laws, and they said that it had to have a certain type of steel reinforced door, and the dimensions had to be a certain amount, and the walls had to have certain steel reinforcements in it, and it had to have a lock on it. Well, when we were trying to figure out how many people we could fit in the closet if there was some kind of security emergency or anything like that, we could fit, I think, 3 people in there. And Mia is tiny. She may be 5 feet tall, and she's petite. She's tiny. She laughed that she could crawl up underneath the bottom so we could fit one more person in. But it's just stupid that we would have to spend thousands of dollars on a closet like that has no impact on patient care.
Maybe backtrack a little bit who Mia is. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Mia is the founder of the Powerhouse, and she is a dynamo.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
I met her when I was down there. What was it, last year? Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah.
For Pride, I went down there, and it was, she, it just kind of comes out, it's just like an aura almost, just kind of, You can tell that she's really energetic and really passionate about what she does. And that's definitely, you need something. I don't know how y'all do it, especially down there in Montgomery, because I used to live there. I know how bad it can be,
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Mia's amazing.
Yeah, she is. I see her post online all the time. She is taking video of stuff. She's always talking shit.
Yeah, she is.
She's like basically a big fuck you to all the aunties or whatever.
Yeah.
I always find that humorous, but let's go back a little bit. You talked about, was that the only thing that, I'm sure it's not the only thing, but what are some other laws that apply specifically to the clinic that you're a part or affiliated with?
Well, one of the other laws with the whole TRAP law thing was they said that the halls had to be a certain width, and that was so gurneys could go down the halls, like hospital halls. We've never had to have a gurney go down the hall, and it wasn't the Montgomery Clinic, but there was another clinic here in the state where the halls were maybe an inch too narrow, and that was completely unacceptable. They had to put thousands of dollars into moving a wall over so that it would be within regulation. And again, it has no bearing on patient care whatsoever. It was all about trying to put these laws in that would make clinics have to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars and hopefully drive them out of business.
Yeah, and that's what these TRAP laws are all about. And I know
exactly.
There have been cases where it went to the federal level and they were struck down because it was pretty obvious that's what they were for.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, I guess, kind of widen the scope a bit. Do you know about TRAP laws in other states?
I know that there have been TRAP laws in Texas that were recently struck down.
That's the ones I was thinking about, I think.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on what exactly those were.
I mean...
Oh, no. I'm sorry. One of them was they had to have full-on surgical rooms for a simple abortion. So you walk in and it's the exact kind of setup as it would be if you went in for open heart surgery.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
It really is. So, women would go in there and would be terrified, thinking, are you going to cut me? What's going to happen here? And no, sweetie, that's just what the law says we have to have.
Yeah, there's several I can think of off the top of my head. I forgot what state this was, where they had to give you a sonogram? No, they had to give you one was a sonogram, but one was like an invade. They stuck something up in you. I can't.
The transvaginal ultrasound.
Yeah. That was it. And I remember some woman, some female senator said something about, well, why don't you, every time you have to get some kind of condom, you should have to get some kind of, you're something up you, since you're so worried about sticking something all up in a woman,
Yeah. Were you there? Have you seen any video of Mia from one of the Moral Monday meetings where she had the transvaginal wand?
No, I hadn't seen that.
That was amazing. Moral Monday is a thing that we have every Monday during the legislative session, and Mia used to be the head of that. And we had one of those meetings right around the time of all the trap laws, and she had her transvaginal wand out there using it as a prop, so people could see what it was and was waving it around. That's Mia.
Yeah, I need to actually find that. Is it on her? It's on her page, or is the Powerhouse page? I'll find it.
It is on her YouTube page, and I can find it and send it to you.
I didn't know she had a YouTube. I guess that makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll need to. Yeah, just if it's Powerhouse, I'll just find it, or you can send me the link. I actually would put that link up on the show notes, because some of that shit I know is pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not funny, the kind of laws they pass to do this, to try to keep women from getting a perfectly legal procedure done. And, just because you happen to think that it goes against your beliefs or whatever,
Yeah.
That's kind of depressing. I'm trying to recall like I said, there are other instances of silly laws that they try to, install, and they have to read some kind of prepared statement in some states. I don't know which ones. Basically,
I think all of them have that. But go ahead.
No, it's like some propaganda bullshit.
Yeah.
Basically, about your chance of breast cancer goes up when you have an abortion, which is total bullshit.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what they have to do here in Alabama. And they have to read a statement saying that it could affect your fertility later, which is completely untrue.
Yeah, I know how it could happen, because the legislators, ironically enough, a bunch of men, white guys, trying to...
For the most part, yeah. I
mean, yeah, for the most part, trying to sit there and tell women what they can and can't do with their own bodies, which has always infuriated me.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure it infuriates you, even since you happen to be a woman, I'm sure... My furiousness, huh? Fury.
Yeah, it really is infuriating.
Isn't anything compared to something like that could actually happen. That would be something you would have to go through,
Mm-hmm.
So, and there are other laws like I remember in Texas. This may have been another one. You would have to have a 48-hour waiting period.
We do that here in Alabama as well.
Yeah, that's what I remember reading about the Powerhouse, like keeping people, you could stay there for the waiting period.
Yeah, because it's a real hardship, especially to low-income women. They'll have to take off work to come to their initial appointment, and with there only being a few clinics here in the state that provide abortion, they'll sometimes have to travel 2-3 hours to get here. So it's an all-day thing. They'll take off work to come to the initial appointment, and then a day or two later, they've got to take off again to come to the next appointment, and that's a lot of time off work. And then to have to pay for a hotel on top of it, it's out of what a lot of people can do. So we do have 2 rooms set up in the Powerhouse as bedrooms, so people can come in, spend the night there, and save them a little bit of money.
That's definitely a good thing. And like you said, the 48-hour, is Montgomery the only place that has a clinic? Does Birmingham have one?
Oh, no. Montgomery has one. Huntsville has one. Tuscaloosa has one. Those are the 3 independent clinics. And then there's a Planned Parenthood in Birmingham that provides abortion.
Okay. Well, actually, that's more than I thought would be a present in Alabama, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Mississippi only has 1 in the whole state.
Mississippi just needs to go away.
Yeah.
Although they make every other state look good by being so horrible.
So there's that.
Yeah.
We appreciate them for that.
I know people in Mississippi, and they absolutely fucking hate it. But, you know, and they're
Yeah.
not there because one's in the military and one's in college there. So they're not there because they want to be. They're talking about wanting to get out as soon as it's, they're done.
Oh, yeah. I used to have fantasies about moving, but, we've got the powerhouse now, and I feel like I'm making a difference with it, and I don't see myself leaving anytime soon.
Let me ask you about that, because that's something I've thought about, not just you, but other people I know who are down there who are, I guess, in the fight, you could say. Over,
Yeah.
I don't know. How do y'all do it? I mean, I don't think I could. I mean, because like I said, I used to live down there, and if you drive through, even on the interstate, you drive down, it's like some kind of post-apocalyptic wasteland or something. I'm not even kidding. It's like...
No, you're not. That's what's so funny about it. You're spot on. The billboards and, yeah, you're spot on with that.
Because it's gotten worse since I was down there 20 years ago. It's like the same shit. It hasn't
really
changed.
is.
It's like all crumbling and, have 99-cent stores, liquor stores, and everything.
Yeah, and now we've got Roy Moore on top of it and everything else.
That's a whole different,
Yeah.
So I guess, what keeps you going, I guess, would be my question.
Maybe it's just a strong sense of empathy. I can see myself being in their situation. I've got a daughter who's 18. I could see her being in the situation of any of these patients, and I could not imagine having to go through that on my own. Having to walk up to the front of the building on my own with that. All the screaming, and I couldn't imagine it. Or if, say, something happened and I needed to go as a parent with my daughter and someone were screaming the things that they scream at my daughter, I don't know that I'd be able to make it in the building with her without punching somebody. And that's not good. They need somebody there to help kind of stabilize it and take the brunt of it, because the patient needs their mother, or they need their whoever's with them, their boyfriend, their husband. And, if we as volunteers can take some of the ugliness for them, then it's worth it.
I would think that y'all have some kind of training you go through. Do you have some sort of training?
When I first started, this was before Mia was over. It's been 3 years ago that I've been doing it. Mia was doing it a little bit longer than I. But when we first got into it, the woman who was over it just did a phone interview with us and gave us the basics over the phone.
Okay. Because I know this reminds me sort of tangentially of like the nonviolence things that Martin Luther King kind of got his volunteers to learn. Basically,
yes.
Not to react, to kind of just go with it. Don't let them, if they spit on you, I don't know if you all go through that. I'm going to ask you that in a minute. But that kind of thing where you just kind of don't react, or kind of don't give in to your urge to beat the shit, like you said, punch somebody.
Yeah. Well, it's completely, I think it's different when you're not the patient, when you're not the loved one of the patient. It makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I have to imagine so. But still, I mean, if you have a sense of empathy like you do, it makes it more difficult, I would think, because it's hard to detach yourself from the situation.
That's true.
So I guess it's just one of those things where you have to go to a place in your mind that's separate from the rest of your brain, compartmentalize it. Otherwise, you kind of would go off the rails and end up punching somebody, And of course,
Yeah. But, I mean, too, that you've actually done something to help somebody that day.
Yeah, that is important.
It's difficult not to pick on all Christians, but the people who protest are always Christian. And it's difficult sometimes, too, to separate the people like them from the people who I know who are genuinely good people. it's easy to try to lump them all together. And that's a big part of it too, I think.
Yeah, that's always hard to generalize, and people do it all the time to atheists, for example.
Yes.
Christians, that's true, but they try to use the Christian persecution complex, but I don't want to get into that. Even though you represent like the vast majority of people in this country, and you can't get elected unless you say you love Jesus.
That's right.
But anyway, that's a whole different subject. Have you had specific incidences there that kind of strike you as more dangerous, maybe, or more out of character than most other things that go on there?
Absolutely. 2 years ago, Operation Save America chose Montgomery to be their national event site. Operation Save America is a domestic terrorist organization that's another one of those Christian right-wing organizations that believe in justified homicide. And what that means is if they feel like it's okay to kill abortion providers, clinic owners, people associated with clinics, they call it justified homicide because they feel like if they kill somebody associated with the clinic, then in an indirect way, they're saving babies. So they chose to do their big national convention here 2 years ago when we first got the powerhouse. And there were, I can't remember how many hundred people there at the clinic for 7 to 8 days. It was insane. In the group of people, there were convicted clinic bombers, there were convicted rapists. They were all on all sides of the clinic practically. There's apartment buildings on the other side of the powerhouse, so they couldn't be over there. But just crazy surrounding the building. They were singing a cappella with their guitars. One guy had a Bible that looks like he took white out and painted Holy Bible on the front and would hold it up and scream at people. We had one woman, particularly charming woman, who was standing in the parking lot back behind the clinic screaming that black people weren't really people because she was aiming it at Dr. Parker. He was the doctor who was there that week, saying that black people weren't really people and he shouldn't be there, blah, blah, blah. That was the most intense that we've had.
Yeah, well, racism always rears its ugly head seemingly in the South, so that's no surprise.
Well, yeah. Now, most of the Operation Save America people were not from here. There were several in the group that are from Alabama, but most of them were from all over the country. They just chose to come here for their event.
They always do that, though. They ship people in from other parts of the country.
Yeah.
I guess to intimidate people even more. And there's, I don't know, Montgomery is one of those cities, I guess, that is a focus because they know they can get away with it. They've got sympathy here, or there, I should say.
That, and with it being the birthplace of civil rights, too.
Oh, yeah. I
didn't
think about that, yeah.
Yeah. It's one more reason for them to come and try to rabble-rouse.
And they try to equate it with that whole civil rights thing, I'm sure, which is always just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like, no, no.
Well, in doing that, they try to put the civil rights in the fetus, and they completely disregard the civil rights of the woman involved.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, well, and then if she does carry the baby to term, once she has the baby, all bets are off.
Yep.
They don't care so much.
It's pro-birth. They're not pro-life.
That's right.
They're pro-birth.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then they're like, don't take money from the government. We don't want to give you more food stamps. Okay, which is it, buddy? I'm trying to figure it.
Don't want to fund education. Don't want to fund food stamps. Don't want to fund health care. But heaven forbid you have an abortion.
Yeah. So do you think? I think that all of this is. Although I've heard of people who weren't religious having objections to abortion, most of this is driven by extreme Christianity, I guess you could call it.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that is? What drives that?
I don't have a good answer for that. I don't know. You're right. It's not scientifically sound, but I don't know if it's a patriarchal thing, if, keeping a woman pregnant is going to keep her in line, is going to keep her in her place. I just don't know, because you can't read the Bible and come away with the impression that the God of the Bible would be pro-life. You look at all the genocide in the Bible, you look at the child sacrifice in the Bible, you look at Noah's flood. That's not a pro-life God. So I don't have a good answer for that.
Yeah, it's cherry picking.
It is.
And I think a lot of this is a certain branch that kind of showed up in with the moral majority, with Jerry Falwell, that kind of grew like a cancer in the late 70s as a reaction to like the free love stuff.
Yeah.
And Phyllis Schlafly, Rotten Hell. But anyway,
it's a huge disconnect to me too, because I don't understand how so many of the people that you'll see protesting abortion clinics and abortion in general are all for the death penalty.
Oh yeah, there's definitely sort of a disconnect there, but that's not any. They're full of cognitive dissonance apparently, so they don't seem to be bothered by that. I don't know. You don't want to generalize like you said before, but I do think this is. I don't think it's totally. I think it's like just a certain kind of strain of Christianity, kind of the evangelical types. Usually seem to be the ones who kind of push this narrative about women being basically vessels.
That and the Catholics.
Yes, we
we
can't
have some
forget about that.
Yeah, we have some regulars who are Catholic that come every week, but I will have to say most of the time the Catholics we have two women in particular who come, and they just come, they say their prayer, and then they leave. They pray their rosary and they leave. Those two in particular are not the kind that yell and harass quite so much as the Southern Baptist guy and the two people from the Holiness Church.
Yeah, you have some regulars, which I find interesting.
We do.
Can you tell me a little about the regulars that you have there?
Well, one of them is a guy named David, and he is there 5 days a week. He is paid by the Southern Baptist Association under the umbrella of the North American Mission Board to actually do this. And he will sometimes bring one of his children up there. Sometimes you'll see the other ones, but there's one daughter in particular that he brings pretty regularly. They were out of school, I think it was back in April, because we were expecting some really bad weather. So they closed the schools up. He shows up with that daughter, and they're just sitting outside in front of the clinic waiting for the tornadoes to hit. That's insane to me. And then we have two more regulars, a husband and wife team, Daniel and Valerie. And they are both part of the Holiness Church. As far as I know, they're not paid to be there. They're there at least every clinic day, for a few hours anyway. He has to leave to go to work. And when he leaves to go to work, he takes her home.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So what do they do? I mean, does it depend? Are some louder than others?
It's basically just yelling at women, telling them they're evil, wicked sinners for being there, that they're going to hell, that when they come out, they're still going to be a mother. They're just going to be the mother of a dead, murdered baby. Just, typical niceties like that.
I like how you said niceties. Obviously heavy on the sarcasm there.
Yes.
That's, and like I said, I've seen some of the posts y'all have put up, and have y'all had like property damage from any of the protesters or anybody else for that matter? Not
since I've been doing it. I know back in the 90s, June had some problems with that, but there's something called the FACE Act now that makes it a federal offense to do anything like that on clinic property.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, that was, I think, in 92, around the time of Dr. Tiller's assassination.
Yes. Let's talk about that, because I'm glad you brought that up. That was the guy who was shot, the abortion provider who was shot in a church in Knoxville, was it?
I think it was Pensacola.
Maybe.
I could be mistaken on that. I know he was a provider in Pensacola.
Okay. I'm pretty sure maybe it was somebody else. Hell, I know there's plenty of them.
Well, no, I really could be mistaken. I'm not sure. But yes, it was in his church. Yeah, and he had actually been shot before. A woman had shot him in both arms, and he recovered from that, only to be taken out in his church one day.
Wow. And he kept doing it. That's what's so
Yeah, he
bizarre
did.
about it. I mean,
He did.
was he the one? I remember Bill O'Reilly
Yes.
calling him out, and basically, of course, some people put some of the blame on him because it makes it basically, he incited somebody. Now, I generally don't go for that kind of stuff because, you can go the other way with that. That's, you could say that about some people on the left. It just depends, as a general rule, but it didn't help. I'll just say that. And
What O'Reilly did was he gave a national platform to the hate and to the rhetoric and to help drum up the animosity that got things to the point where they were. Tiller was one of the few doctors that would do late-term abortions, and those are only done in the most extreme circumstances, meaning the woman's life is in imminent danger, or the fetus is dead, or just the extreme circumstances there. And they left that part out, I guess, in all of their rhetoric. And it was just, he's killing almost near-term babies. We've got to do something about this. They even had wanted posters with his face on it.
oh yeah, that makes it even
Yeah.
There's always going to be people who are going to do it anyway. They generally don't need any urging.
Yeah. That's true.
But
giving it that national platform like O'Reilly did was just adding fuel to the fire.
oh, trust me, I don't. I think he's a complete piece of shit, and I'm glad they got rid of him. But
Absolutely.
It wasn't for any noble reason, granted, but at least the end result.
At least
was,
he's gone.
Yeah, and he was killed in Wichita, Kansas. We were both
Okay.
we were both incorrect on that. I don't know. Maybe there was. I think there was somebody in Knoxville though who did get killed. I do remember that. Maybe
Probably
that was
so.
unrelated. I need to put some links up. I'm gonna do a little research on because of course there are different doctors that have been killed. There was also Eric Rudolph who bombed the clinic. Where was it? I can't remember.
It was Huntsville, I believe. Was it Huntsville or Tuscaloosa?
I'll have to look. I don't remember, but he was the guy who was hiding out in the hills. Didn't he bomb the Olympics too, or was that somebody else?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. And he had a close association with that Operation Save America group.
Yeah, maybe we need to talk a little bit about Operation Save America. Do you know a lot about it? I imagine you know.
They started off as Operation Rescue, and it was, I guess, kind of what it sounds like. They felt like they were rescuing babies by forcing their way into clinics or forcing their way into the entrance of clinics. They would stand in front of the clinics and lock arms, or they would lay down in front of clinics to make it where people couldn't even get to the door. Back in the early 90s, a big group of them came here, and this is when our clinic was in a different location. They put glue in the locks, so they couldn't even get into the clinic that way. They were just a really nasty group, but there was a change in their organization at some point, and they became Operation Save America.
It's always strange to me, or ironic, that they always use these words like save America and rescue and make it sound so, altruistic when it's basically the opposite.
They're a basic terrorist.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said earlier that they're domestic terrorists. I don't think enough people realize that. They're so quick to label any brown person a terrorist, but they seem to want to call people like that lone wolves, generally speaking.
Yeah.
That goes for any domestic terrorist, whether it be white nationalist or extreme religious person, usually Christian, or.
They'll say they're mentally ill. There was the incident in Colorado, was it 2 years ago, where Robert Deere went in and shot up that Planned Parenthood?
Yeah, and I remember. I remember now. I was trying to remember, but yeah.
Yeah, and he had the justified homicide mentality. And they just said he's mentally ill. He's obviously incompetent and mentally ill. Not that he has these ties with the right-wing domestic terrorism.
Well, is Operation Rescue we'll Save America, whatever. Are they related? Are they affiliated with any church particularly, or do they say they're a Christian organization?
Yeah, they're absolutely a Christian organization. They're usually pretty easy to recognize, too, because they have red shirts that have a big cross on the back. But no, they're definitely a Christian organization. I don't know if they're affiliated with a particular denomination or if they're just their own thing.
Huh, funny how that works. No, I don't want to lump. I have tried to steer away from lumping any people together into one group because it's done too much on the left sometimes and the right, but it just seems to me that it's strange how most of these people claim to be Christians, even though there are plenty who are not that way. And I don't know. Of course, this is impossible to get a percentage of anything like that. It's hard. It's difficult to get any empirical data. But I don't know. I would say that maybe, like I said before, it's a certain strain almost. And, like I said, I don't want to lump everybody together. But there definitely is a virulent strain of this sort of thing.
Absolutely. Well, and there's denominations, too, that are worse than others.
Exactly, yeah. And I think if we were going to try to pin that down, Southern Baptists do seem to be a little more active in this sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's a shame. They weren't always that way. There's been a shift within the last 30, 25 years. I don't know what that shift was, what caused it. But, yeah, the Southern Baptists are pretty bad with that. And the Holiness Church is one of the worst, too.
I don't even know what that is.
That's one of the groups where the women can't wear anything that shows their knees. They're either not allowed to cut their hair or they're not allowed to let it get shorter than a certain length. They don't wear makeup. One of those just super oppressive groups.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to have to look that up. I hadn't even heard of that. And I live in the South. I thought I heard all the crazy sex or whatever out there. Yeah. I mean, the branches, the kind of, I don't know, a lot of these are cults broken. I mean, not to say that every religion is a cult at some time, just add age, how old it is or whatever. But it's mind boggling the different kinds of, like you said, I'd never even heard of that, the one you just mentioned. So
yeah,
I think they just it doesn't matter. They're just looking for a reason of, fuck with people. I don't really think
I agree.
there's any rhyme or reason to it. I don't know. It's kind of disgusting. It's human nature, unfortunately, for that to happen sometimes. Anyway, I don't want to diverge too much from the main topic. So we talked earlier about trap laws. I wanted to get a little bit into that documentary since June, like you said, June airs was in the documentary, and it's been a while since I've seen it. Do you remember? Well, I'm sure you do. Do you remember kind of the synopsis of what it was about?
Well, they highlighted the Montgomery Clinic, the Tuscaloosa Clinic, and the Huntsville Clinic here in our state. And then they shot a lot in Texas as well. I don't think they hit on Mississippi. I think it was just these two states. And they highlighted these laws and what it's like being an abortion provider here in this state and in Texas. Dr. Parker, who is one of our doctors, and he also practices in Mississippi, was in the film a good bit. And it was just giving his perspective as well as what it's like being an abortion doctor in the Deep South and having to deal with everything that he has to deal with.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that brings me to the doctors themselves. They have to go through a great deal of secrecy, and I know that they kind of have to shuttle them out basically and find ways to, kind of trick people into thinking he's going one way but he's going somewhere.
Yeah. At our clinic, we always take them in through the back and make sure that we shield them the best that we can with the umbrellas. So if there's somebody wanting to do something horrible, hopefully the umbrellas will shield them enough where they can't see. And They usually take rental cars as well. Every now and then, one of them will drive their real car. But most of the time, they drive a rental car, so it's never the same car and it's never the same tag. There are websites that are set up specifically for abortion doctors where it'll have their picture, where they practice. If they have their home address, they'll put that on there. Any kind of information they can get on them. If they get a picture of their actual car, they'll put it in the tag on there. Just really dangerous information to be out there on them, so we do our best to protect them.
Yeah, I've heard instances of, like you said, they kind of take pictures of license plates. I know sometimes at some places fly in doctors like once a week. Is that it's only once a week? This clinic day is that it's only performed on one day a week, a certain day?
That's all we do in Montgomery. I'm not sure about the other ones in the state.
Oh, okay. Or in other states that are probably are more liberal when it comes to that sort of thing. I'm sure it's probably more frequent.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's. Nashville is pretty, as far as cities go, it's pretty liberal, but you still have, people coming out to protest and shit. That's still a thing. What about, I wanted to hit on, I forgot what they're called, but they're these Christian clinic. They try to act like they're clinics or whatever.
Oh, yeah, the crisis pregnancy centers.
Yeah. But they're not. They're like fake.
No, they're horrible. They're horrible. We've got tons of those in the state, and there are probably tons of them no matter where you go. But they give themselves names like Choices or something that would make it look like it was an actual women's clinic, an actual abortion clinic. They lure the women in, they get there, and make them sit through a little Bible class or whatever, give them false information. We have one volunteer who accidentally went to one before she started volunteering with us, and they had her come in and disrobe, put the gown on because they were going to do an ultrasound on her. Well, she went to go do that, and when she came back, they had taken her clothes and wouldn't give her clothes back until she sat through this film. The whole purpose of the film was to shame her for even thinking about having an abortion.
That's fucking absolutely disgusting.
It really is. And when they show them their ultrasound, they'll try to make it appear that the fetus is further along, or that there's features there that actually aren't there, saying, okay, you're at 5 weeks, your fetus has all of its fingers and toes right now. No, that's not fetal development. But if you don't know any better, you don't know any better. Plus, you've got somebody standing there in scrubs or what looks like an official medical person telling you this. And if you don't have the education, or if you've never been pregnant before and don't know, of course you're going to believe them.
Yeah, people feed on ignorance.
They really do. We've got a new crisis pregnancy center here in Montgomery that is actually in a van, and they'll park it across the street from the clinic 3 to 4 days a week. And then other times you'll see it around town parked in different parking lots.
Yeah. Didn't anybody tell people that you're not supposed to get in a stranger's van?
Well, and if there's anything that you don't want out of a van, it's a tattoo or in its medical care.
Tattoo. Have you had some experience with this?
No, but I've seen Bridesmaids.
Oh, yes. That's a good movie, actually. Yeah, so...
Yeah, when they first got the van, Montgomery is right here at the river, and we were making plenty of Chris Farley jokes about the van down by the river. Not the place for medical care.
Yeah, definitely. And it really... The forces are really set against you, especially in the South, as far as trying to get these kind of procedures done. And people still... I don't know if people realize or understand well enough that this is a legal procedure. I mean,
understanding and caring are two different things.
Okay, they don't care. You're right. A lot of people just don't care, and they'd rather look at things through a more personal belief lens, and don't understand what the separation between church and state is, or don't care.
Well, another thing is these radical fringe groups believe in what they call the doctrine of the lesser magistrate. And basically what that says is if the law is unjust, you don't have to follow the law. The only law that you have to be concerned with is God's law.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've never heard it called that before.
Yeah.
And our current president decided he was going to tweet out, we're under God's, law or whatever, or something. I forgot what the tweet was exactly. Basically implying, oh, really? And then Andrew Seidel from FFR, up the staff attorney. I don't know if you pay attention to him, but he's always tweeting stuff out. He's like, no, actually, that's not true. I forgot how many he said, millions of non-believers that would disagree.
Exactly.
So it goes back to that sort of thinking.
Yeah.
It's a difficult journey, difficult battle to fight, and it's not like it's getting any easier. It's actually getting a little harder, and especially in the South.
I just know when I first got started in it, it was right when the trap laws were going through the legislature here. And I was looking around at my friends and I was saying, are you paying attention to what's happening? And they were all, yeah, we see. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? There's nothing we can do. We're just going to sit here. No, no. So I took off work one day and went down to the state legislature when they were going to be debating and voting on it, because I figured if they were going to do that, they were going to have to do it with me there looking at them. And that's how I ended up meeting Mia and several other people. But it just frustrates me to no end that people just sit on their hands and feel like there's nothing they can do about it.
Well,
if enough of us scream, then they're going to have to listen.
That's true. I just think that it takes a certain kind of person to be able to do that. I don't know. Most people are just afraid to get involved. And some people like you, for example, are kind of the leaders that get people, because people generally need to be woken up a lot of times. Let's just be honest about it.
Yeah.
And there are people like yourself and Mia and others who are the people who kind of say, hey, we need to get up and do something about this, and they kind of motivate people. You're a motivator. Let's just say you're a motivator.
Okay, I'll take that.
And to get people kind of fired up about, I don't necessarily blame people. It's just, I think that's just the way most people, like I said, they're just, unless the momentum's moving in a certain direction, they're not willing to get involved, I think. And that's sad, but it's just human nature, I think, unfortunately. But if you get enough people starting in one direction, the momentum starts going in your way, and then, think you can get some change or whatever. But I can imagine it's difficult for you when you see so much going wrong and you're trying to do something and people are just sitting there like, oh well.
It's very frustrating.
I mean,
it really is. You'll hear people say, somebody should do something about that. Well, you're somebody. Come on, let's work on this.
I think a lot of people just don't know where to start,
Maybe.
They feel overwhelmed. It just seems so out of the realm of possibility to be able to do anything,
Yeah.
But I think nowadays, especially with the rise of kind of the internet, social media, people have less and less excuse to not do anything at all, even if it's something they, is little maybe. They can do something,
Yeah. Well, and I know a lot of people here, too, are afraid that, say, if their employer finds out that they're taking a stand for this issue or that, then that might cause them problems. But there's all kind of ways that you can get involved behind the scenes and make a tremendous impact.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think it's important for people to realize not everybody, and I've said this before, not everybody is out in the front lines with the signs, and, there's different people doing different things. You got to have people, organizing things, people making phone calls, people, hell, even IT people, to help with computer systems, or social media people who kind of promote things,
Yeah, and you can do that behind the scenes. And I mean, Mia and I usually are the ones that clean the powerhouse. I mean, that's the kind of thing that can be done behind the scenes and nobody knows. I'm really fortunate in that the owners where I work all know what I do, and they're very supportive of it. But I do understand that is a problem for a lot of people. Yeah,
I'm glad you have that kind of protection, because I know a lot of people, like you said, are worried about that. And again, it's kind of equivalent to being an atheist in the South. A lot of employers, if they find out, And of course, we're right to work states. I think the whole South is like that, and increasingly other places that generally weren't in the past. But anyway, it's a different story. Which means
Yeah.
that right to work is such a Orwellian term. I mean,
It's one of those terms that, like you were saying a minute ago, it sounds like, oh, that's a pretty decent thing. No, it's really not.
yeah, it's right to get fired. Is what
Exactly. For
Yeah.
any or no reason.
Yep. So, I mean, people don't realize. I don't think a lot of people realize that. I mean, we do, I think.
Yeah.
But people in more liberal states maybe don't understand that as much. And it's a struggle in the South to get things done a lot of times.
Well, if anybody happens to be listening and they want to get involved, but they're afraid that their employer might find out and it might jeopardize their work, their job status, there are plenty of things that you can do behind the scenes that no one has to know.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's going to be kind of the last thing we're going to talk about is what people can do
Okay.
to help out. And I'm talking about anything in any area, wherever you're at.
Well, one of the main things that you can do is stay on top of what's happening in your local legislature and, what bills they're trying to pass, push through. And if there's something going on that you don't think should be going on, write your representative. I know that a lot of times people will pass around petitions, but we hear more and more that they don't really pay attention to the petitions. But if you will send them an email, if you'll pick up the phone and call them, then that gets more attention. So, you can send off a quick email or just call. If you have an organization in your area that you feel passionate about, if you go to them and say, this is my concern, they'll find ways that you can help, even if it's stuffing envelopes or making calls or just helping them out clean, anything like that. Fundraise, a lot of things that goes behind with fundraising you can do with no one ever seeing your face or your name.
Yeah. There is an app that just came out, and for some reason I can't remember what it is. But basically, you put in where you're at, and it'll send your representatives a message, and I'm pissed off because I can't remember what the name of it is. Sincere Carabo, who's with the Humanist Association, put it out.
Yeah. Okay. I had not heard of that, but that would be great.
Oh, crap. And I'm going to be pissed because I can't remember what it is. But, shit. I'll remember after the fact, but it'll be in the show notes because I'm going to remember after the fact. But it's an app, basically, that, like I said, it tells you... Oh, wait. Is that it right there? Sorry. Oh, that's 2014. Anyway.
Yeah, if you remember, I definitely want to know.
There's an app for it. Crap. I'm so pissed off at myself right now because I can't remember it.
Well, no, like you said, it'll come to you as soon as we end.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, there's an app for it, and I'll put it up, but it makes it easier, basically, for people to get involved, I think. And it sends an email in your name about certain issues. So definitely that's something I think, like I said, it's less and less excuse for you to do something.
Right.
Nowadays. So, and I think that's, let's face it, last election was a fucking disaster. A lot of the reason was because people just didn't get out and vote. I mean, aside from anything
that was
else,
a lot to do with it.
I mean, you can, of course, blame it on the people who voted for our orange overlord, but also blame the people
Senor Cheetah.
Yeah. I haven't heard that one before. That's pretty funny. Yeah, people just didn't get out and vote because they thought HRC had it in the bag, especially a lot of liberals. This is what usually happens, actually. People who are the people who are more motivated are the ones that get out and vote. The ones who are more complacent are the ones that don't, usually.
And many elections are lost that way.
Yes, historically, turnout's it hasn't been much.
No.
I don't remember what the percentage is, but it's not. I don't even know if it's half. It's pretty small, and that's what happens. Conservatives seem to be better at getting their people out to vote most of the time.
That's true.
Of course, if you hear, I'm sure you've heard this before. The bigger the turnout, the more likely it is that Democrats are going to win.
Yes, I have heard that, and there was a huge turnout in my county here in Alabama, and we did go blue.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I was really surprised.
Huh.
Yeah, we were a majority Hillary this time. I was proud of my neighbors for that.
That's actually interesting because they have harped on this thing about her being a criminal, and I have my own problems with her. Let me be honest, but I mean the shit they were peddling it was misogynistic, to be honest with you. A lot of it.
It really was.
Now that's not wasn't the only thing. I mean, they've said she was a criminal. They've been harping on the Clintons since way back in when they were first running. So
back when they were in Arkansas.
Yeah, so I mean that's always been a stigma, and that's a well-worn thing. And some of it was the kind of the inevitability of it. They felt like she's just waiting to be crowned or something. And I don't know. There's some truth to that, maybe. I don't know, but I think a lot of it was just propaganda that was put forth by Republicans. Yeah. Of course, there's usually not a simple answer, but it didn't help. They do
not at all.
They do good at trashing. Republicans are good at trashing. Let's be honest. I mean, and it didn't matter what Trump did. Jesus, he could, like he said, he could have shot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, making fun of handicapped people, what he said about women, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable that he's in office now.
Yeah, I know. I could do a whole podcast on that one subject alone. And actually, there is a podcast that's based just on the shit he does, I think. And they're doing well.
Yeah, I'm sure you could do several on that.
Yeah. So people can, do things behind the scenes. I think what y'all do at the Powerhouse, like you can volunteer to be an escort.
Yes. Yeah, you can volunteer to be an escort. I know I said earlier when Mia and I first came on, we just had basically a phone interview and a little bit of phone instruction. But now that Mia has taken over with the volunteer training and that sort of thing, she gives you a little bit more of a little more information on what to expect and how to behave, and if X situation arises, this is how you deal with it.
So she's basically the queen of the escorts.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she
does the training and the coordinating.
Very charismatic, I have to say.
Yeah, she's great. Absolutely. Yeah, we need volunteers for that. We need volunteers for fundraising. We need volunteers. If somebody just wanted to come help clean up the house every now and then, volunteers for that sort of thing. And I would imagine, no matter where your listeners are, their local clinic would need volunteers for the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially in the South, that's true. Of course, there are other places it's true too, but especially the Midwest.
And as far as I know, the Powerhouse is the only thing like it in the country, as far as I know. But there are volunteer organizations around just about every clinic.
Well, if that's the case, then maybe people if you see a need in your community for something like that, see if you can start something. I mean, I know it's not easy.
Mm-hmm. No, but it's worth it.
Because when y'all was trying to buy that house, I think they were trying to outbid you.
Yeah. Have you heard the story of how we got the house?
Vaguely, I don't remember all the details.
It was right before Operation Save America came in for their national thing. The main protester, David, posted on his Facebook page that he had found out that the house was available for rent. And we happened to see it, and Mia jumped on it immediately. She knew the guy, the property owner, and she contacted him immediately, and we were able to get the lease for it, which is a really good thing because, as I mentioned before, how close the house is to the actual clinic. If they had control of that house, it would have been horrible.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we were able to get it that way. And we were having to move stuff in at night because we were afraid that if the Operation Save America people knew that we had it and saw us doing it, they'd burn the house down.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Oh, no.
And I'm surprised, and I'm glad, but I'm surprised they haven't tried to do more to that house particularly.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can underestimate the kind of shit these people are capable of. And it's,
no.
It's any ideology like this. I'm not just going to say religion. there's, any other destructive ideology people kind of subscribe to and get deep into, and they're passionate's not the right word. Crazy about? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you can be crazy passionate, I guess.
Yeah, but they're overzealous to say the least.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's a good way to put it.
Anytime they get brainwashed into this sort of thing, I think they're capable of anything. So now it seems I've seen where the police have actually, been fair about, helping y'all out or whatever.
The police have been really good with us here. Back when the whole thing happened with Operation Save America, they were super, super nice. We had several meetings with them leading up to it. And then that might be what helped forge such a good relationship with them. Anytime we've had any kind of problem, they're always there, incredibly nice. We've been really fortunate in that regard, because I know it's not that way in a lot of places.
Yeah, and I'm glad for you, because that's definitely something that's important. You need that backup, especially in a God, I can't even imagine. Montgomery is, an urban area, and I'm using that term loosely.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, urban areas are a little more liberal than most places. But if it's that bad in Montgomery, well,
yeah, liberal's not really a word I would use with Montgomery. But,
okay, more so than the rural areas, at least here. I know it's that way in Tennessee, and the difference is a little more stark, I think, here, because Nashville and Memphis they vote blue almost pretty consistently. So, but Montgomery, I don't know about Birmingham, but I know Montgomery is pretty conservative. So,
very much so.
All right, so now, like you said, people can go out, and if you have local, people that need help, just try to go out and help. Maybe start your own thing, like y'all did down there. But if people want to help y'all out specifically, what can they do to do that?
Well, we always need donations. We operate entirely off of small dollar donations, and we have a PayPal account. It's Montgomery, MONTGO, MERY, Repro, REPRO, Justice, JUSTICE, @gmail.com.
Okay.
And we also have a Facebook page. It's just Powerhouse, Alabama.
Yeah, I got that one.
And the link for that is on there also. The link for the PayPal is on there.
Okay. And so that you actually have that's the website, the one you just said. Then you have a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Do you have a Twitter? You need a Twitter. That's what you need.
We do have a Twitter.
Oh, well, there. You need somebody on that Twitter sniping at these motherfuckers.
Well, we have one that I set up a while back, and it's one day. It's ONEDAY at RHS. RHS is for reproductive health. That's the name of the clinic next door. And Day is the last name of our main protester. And when I first set that up, it was to be, when he would say particularly horrible things, I would put them on there. I don't use that one a whole lot. We started another one called Powerhouse AL that I really need to be more active on, but I kind of slack on that. We have more followers on Facebook, and so I keep that one up more than I do the Twitters.
The Twitters.
I sounded like an old person. The Twitters.
Well, if you ever need help, I'm pretty good at social media promotion, so.
I may take you up on that.
I'm good at Twitter and Facebook. When we had NanaCon here, I don't know, the Nashville Nuns Convention, it's a little one-day atheist convention here in Nashville. Went pretty well last year. I need to
come up for that sometime.
It was great this year. We had a lot of fun. I was doing promotion for that on Facebook and Twitter and on the page, so
yeah,
I know a little something about it. But yeah, you definitely need to come up. I wish I could come. If it wasn't the same damn weekend, I would. But well, I need to come. I would like to come down there and volunteer once to see what it's like.
That would be great.
Just come down there for a weekend. Of course, somebody'd have to put me up, so I don't know how that would work.
Oh, that could be arranged.
But yeah, I really would like to do that, and I would like to kind of just see what it's like. I mean, I think it's important that people kind of understand the things that y'all go through.
Yeah, we would love to have you come down sometime, and make sure when you come to volunteer, it's on an actual clinic day too, because it's a completely different perspective on clinic day than on just consult day.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, well, when's clinic day?
They swap it up. It's usually the latter part of the week, and they usually fluctuate between Thursdays and Fridays. The reason they do that is because of the waiting period and the doctor schedule. Well, most doctors practice at multiple clinics, and so we have to balance our schedule with other clinics that the doctor goes to also.
I see. Well, Friday definitely be a better time for me. I could take that day off and then come to the weekend and make it easier. Well, I was going to ask you something, and drew a blank. Yeah, so definitely, if you can have the opportunity, if you're anywhere within the region, y'all should go down there and help them out, because I'm sure y'all need all the help you can get.
Yes, we do, and we would greatly appreciate it. Just if somebody is planning to come, if they would contact us on Facebook first and let us know.
Good idea, yeah.
Yeah, it would make us feel better if we didn't have people show up and announce, or people that we weren't expecting.
Yeah, because they could be like moles or something.
Yeah, you never know. We have to be super careful with security.
I wonder if, have y'all ever had that happen? People trying to sneak in as escorts or something?
That's a whole different story.
Oh.
I know that they had a real problem with it in other places, and yeah, well, let's just say we have to be super careful with that.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So they're
I don't want to say anything that Mia will fuss at me about later.
Okay, fair enough. I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we do. We have to be very careful with our security.
Understandable, totally understandable, considering what's at stake,
Mm-hmm.
All right, Melissa. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me about this.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. I've enjoyed it.
And I, for myself, I would like to say that I appreciate what y'all do, and I think it's important, and y'all have the biggest balls I have ever seen.
Well, thank you. And we appreciate what you do, too, because, without people like you to get it out there, then people wouldn't know.
That's true, and I definitely encourage everybody to do whatever they can to help y'all out. And if you're not maybe in the area, maybe you can help your own local people out, because there's always people somewhere trying to fuck shit up,
Exactly.
to put it, academically, that's an academic term. Fuck shit up,
Exactly.
All right, Melissa. Well, you take care of yourself.
Well, thank you very much. You too.
That'll do it for this episode of the Podunk Polymath Podcast. I want to thank Melissa Smith-Taylor for coming on and talking to me about her difficult role and the services she provides to those women in need and helps them and escorts them. I think it is a hell of a calling, and it takes a special person to be able to do shit like that, especially in Montgomery, which is like the biggest shithole in the universe, just about. So, thanks again to her for coming on and for what she does. And contribute to the Powerhouse if you can. I'm going to put a link up there, and you can go to their website and do so. I strongly encourage you to do so. Of course, if you want to check out the show, you can go to thepodunkpolymath.com. Of course, the music is done by ... You can check out their music at cdbaby.com/cd/... Of course, you can find the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Google Plus under the Podunk Polymath. You can email the show, podunk.polymath@gmail.com. If you want to become part of the Patreon posse on Patreon, patreon.com/thepodunkpolymath. If you would like to leave me a voice message, which I have one so far, and that's only because I made them do it, 615-378-POPO 7676, Freedom Squared. You can join the Podunk Polymath Podcast Posse Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/the Podunk Polymath Podcast Posse. All of those words are separated by periods. And of course, there's also an online store now, zazzle.com/podunk_polymath. Of course, if you look on the sidebar of the page, you will see that you can follow me on WordPress, follow me at Twitter along with a little box with my tweets in it. Donate via PayPal. You can subscribe on RSS, Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. And there's a Patreon button there as well to go straight to the page, recent posts, and recent comments. I want to thank everybody again for listening to the show. I know y'all could be doing better things like polishing your nails or coloring your hair or whatever shit you do. I don't know. I'm not judging. And again, I want to reiterate my appreciation for Melissa coming on. I can't express enough how much I admire her and what she's doing down there, along with Mia and everybody else down at the Powerhouse, and the escorts and all the people down there who help women do a fucking legal thing, but we have a bunch of nut jobs down there trying to fucking keep them from doing so, making them feel horrible, making them terrorized. And of course, Alabama doesn't help by putting all these restrictions in place to make it really difficult for women to get abortions. So, fuck Alabama. And not literally. Not in a good way. With a rusty fucking pipe or something. Anyway, on that cheery note, until next time, y'all take it easy now, okay?